So now it's time for the transition drill. Hopefully you worked on the rifle reload manipulation. Now we're going to talk about transitioning to a handgun. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the why. Why do we transition to the handgun? And here's the theory. You could probably perform a reload if you put it on a pack timer about as quickly as you can transition to a handgun. The problem is when we have a dead trigger with the rifle, we don't know what the problem is. It could be a phase 1 malfunction, it could be an empty rifle, or it could be, some sort of catastrophic phase 2 or phase 3 bolt override malfunction, or a broken rifle where you could spend several seconds and or a minute trying to get it fixed. What you do know for a fact though, generally speaking, is that you have a handgun on your body, which is a secondary weapon system. Of course, it's not as effective as the rifle, but it's still there, it's loaded, and the second you grab it out of the holster, you probably have pretty good confidence it's going to work. So my recommendation is when you're doing transition practice, practice them all of the time if you're going to be armed with a handgun. The second thing I want you to think about is when you're doing transition practice, I actually worked with a group not long ago that was starting, and this is an unloaded rifle, but they had a fully loaded rifle. They would mount the rifle, fire their shot, put their safety back on, transition to the handgun, fire a shot. And I asked them what they were working on, and they said, well, we're working on transition practice. And I said, well, but you're not really getting the proper stimulus. What should the proper stimulus be when you're transitioning to the handgun? And they're like, well, we want to go to the secondary weapon. But why? And the point is, the reason I want to go to the secondary weapon system is because I've mounted the rifle, fired one or more shots, and I get a dead trigger where I'm trying to fire and there's nothing going on. So when you practice your transition drill, I strongly recommend you practice it with the proper stimulus. That means A, we either have to practice it like I'm going to demo here in just a second, or B, as a matter of fact, I'm going to demo both versions for you today when we do the live fire drill. And that means I'm going to start out with a rifle with 1 round in it and an empty magazine, much like your rifle reload drill. Or I'm going to set up a magazine with dummy rounds in it. I'll show you both during the live fire drill. So let's talk a little bit about the the transition. Once again, I've got an unloaded rifle, and for this particular period of instruction, I've got an unloaded handgun. So I've checked those, and they're nice and safe. So with the transition, I'm going to work on mounting the rifle, firing my shots. Maybe it went bang one time, and when I went to fire the second shot, I got a dead trigger. And my brain should be screaming at this point in time, the trigger's dead, the rifle's not going bang, get rid of it. So how do I get rid of it? Well, I could simply let it drop, and with me, with no gear on or kit on, that's probably a bad solution, because if I let this gun drop, you can kind of see where it's going to hit. It's going to bang the heck out of my knees or other more important parts. The second option might be simply to guide the rifle down to my side, which is a perfectly acceptable option. Some guys transition just like that. And all I'm doing is I'm taking that lead hand and I'm guiding the rifle straight down to the side of my body and out of the way. Now, I have a Magpul single point sling, so as I transition, the rifle will typically go to my left-hand side and out of my way, okay? The third option is the one I like a little bit better is when I actually go to transition, I've got some control of the rifle with my strong hand on a pistol grip, and I'm going to reach over the top of the rifle and I'm basically going to wipe it out of the way. It really allows me to transition the rifle out of the way very quickly, and it allows me to get my left hand moving toward the handgun quicker so I could build my two-handed grip of the handgun. So I'm kind of a fan of taking that rifle, reaching over the top of it, and then wiping it out of the way to go for the handgun. Now the second I do that, of course, I let the rifle go, second hand comes up to meet and greet with both hands as I transition to fire my shots with the handgun. Now once you're done shooting, don't always get in the habit of immediately putting the handgun away, because it's your primary weapon right now. When I do the live fire drill, I'll show you what I mean by this. What I'm normally going to do is grab the rifle, literally pick it up, I still have my handgun out, so I can still fight or shoot with the handgun, but now I'm going to assess. I'm going to look down at the rifle and say, well, wow, I can handle this because the bolt is locked to the rear. It's just a reload situation. Or I may look down there and see 5 or 6 rounds just jammed up in there, or maybe part of the rim ripped off and a broken extractor, or I may see that my rifle's been shot. You might be shot. The rifle might be hit. In that case, I'm going to stick to the primary weapon system, which is the handgun. I'm going to dump the rifle and just get it out of my way. But if I can fix the rifle at that point in time, I'm going to safely holster the handgun up and then go right into my rifle manipulation. Now if it's a reload situation, of course you already know how to reload. Simply going to reload the rifle, work the bolt, and the rifle's back up in the fight. If it's a malfunction, you may have to tap that magazine, work the bolt, and once again the rifle's back up in the fight. Okay? So, transitioning is something you have to practice properly with the correct live fire drill, and I'm going to show you that next.